The moment you were awakened to what you are, all of the traumas became distant stories. Everything you have been told and all you have seen are now nothing but a prehensile dream. Hello and welcome back to another episode of WolfeSound podcast. Today we're going to talk about trauma. The two main types are post-traumatic stress disorder that everybody knows about, and the second one is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, referred to as C-PTSD from now on. So we will focus on the complex kind due to its emotional roots and prolonged nature of its impact. It's not necessarily the trauma itself that causes long-term problems, but the impact of how the person or others around them re-traumatize them long after, which keeps them stuck. We can move on from an event, but when societal conditioning keeps you entrapped in its memory, your struggle is that much tougher. So before we get into it, here's the difference between PTSD and C-PTSD. PTSD is a manifestation of one traumatic event, as is the case of war veterans, as I said, one-time rape victims, loss of a loved one, being diagnosed with a serious illness, witnessing or being involved in an accident. It can also happen by witnessing a crime. C-PTSD is a result of ongoing compounded trauma that has an emotional foundation to it, and mostly rooted in emotional abuse caused by trusted caretakers and loved ones, and tends to begin very early in life. And the affected person may invite more of the same trauma as they grow old through their relationships and choices of friends. When anxiety is a constant state, our bodies slowly give out. Code red is an expected norm. And this is why when we rage, we refer to it as seeing red. C-PTSD brings everything dangerous from the past right into the present moment. We create these mental scenarios of impending doom, so we can be on high alert should we need to protect ourselves and act fast enough to find safety. The absence of immediate danger only intensifies the anticipation. It's kind of equivalent to the anxiety you feel between the time someone points a gun at you and pulling the trigger. A lot of people are suffering C-PTSD, and the most dangerous time is when the person is not even fully aware of it. You see people raging at each other, a lot of school shooting, a lot of crazy things going on in the world by traumatized people who are not aware of their trauma at all. And when they're not aware of it, obviously they don't fix it, because you cannot heal what you don't know, or you don't even know it exists. Sufferers of C-PTSD are in a constant state of survival mode. Their trauma is timeless, and their mind can't organize their memories in a chronological order. Everything in their mind is happening right now, even long after the dangerous situation has passed. Being in the now is the ultimate state that spiritual guides talk about. But what if the moment is unpleasant? I've been meditating since I was about 11 or 12 years old, and it was much easier then. At some point in my life, when I started to face a lot of conflict and a lot of traumas have been adding up, I started to wonder about that question. What if the moment is unpleasant? This is when mentally escaping the moment comes to save us, and we replace it with another. This is when people either meditate or dissociate. So meditation was still a savior, because it's your mindset that on a daily basis, the daily practice teaches you how to heal that trauma, even if it takes a long time to release it. Trauma weakens the mind and meditation fortifies it. Mind over matter is not always a capacity that the sufferer has. Instead, they dissociate because it doesn't require effort. It's not intentional. And there's a fine line between the height of pain and the complete liberation of it. Meditation and being in the moment. We cannot say it's an unpleasant moment. That's what I come to learn, because the meditation brings you to the reality in the absence of that danger. And within the danger itself, while it's happening, you cannot be in the middle of it and have anticipation. The anticipation is the most toxic part of it. So we're gonna go deeper into that to understand how to unpack all of this. Adrenaline kicks in, prompting us into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn modes. Being high on adrenaline consistently is physically exhausting, to say the least. Since our emotional memory gets stored in our bodies, we become very heavy. The reason we tend to suppress our traumatic memories is to avoid being driven into a nervous breakdown or sometimes even suicide. I do believe, however, in taking small steps to release little by little, with a hiatus in between for processing. Every person is different, so you'll have to decide on the best course of action for you with the help of a trusted professional. It has to be a trusted professional who is specialized in trauma, because not every therapist is good at dealing with people with trauma, and some cause more damage on top of it. So you have to be very mindful in choosing who you go to. If you choose to keep your emotions bottled up, sooner or later they will express themselves through unexpected ways, at unexpected times, without your consent. It can often awaken fatal diseases just to get your attention. So whatever we suppress, it will have to come out, and the longer we suppress it, the more violent it gets in its expression later on. Here's a list of symptoms of C-PTSD. Derealization, dissociation. Derealization is when you're there, but you mentally escaped. Like, it's as if you look around you and it feels unreal, like you're kind of detached from your environment. You're not present. It's the complete opposite of mindfulness and being present in the moment. Dissociation, blocked memory, non-linear recalling of events, forgetting a familiar face, seeing others' face change into someone else. This is not about hallucination, as extreme trauma can really mess up with your mind. Failure to feel moments, even while engaged in them. Feeling unsettled when someone is behind you. You don't trust it when somebody's behind you, especially if the past had a physical kind of traumatic abuse. The need to protect your back, yet needing to look away from others at times. Sleeping in your clothes and shoes so you can run out at any moment. Slow response time due to dissociation. It may take a couple of weeks to realize someone insulted you and you didn't react at the time, so there's a lot of delay in your reactions. You may see and hear things that aren't quite there. There is an inability to defend yourself due to memory blockages. And abusers tend to use that against you. They play on that blockages in your memory, so they accuse you of things that never happened, and you don't know how to defend yourself because you have no recollection of any event in that time period. Or they deny the experience altogether. They say it's just in your head. Loud noises, hard lights, and crowds hurt your senses and give you anxiety. And this is also a symptom of spirituality and cleansing and meditation, because you know that all this harsh noise and lighting outside is just, it's unnatural. Vertigo is very common. Sometimes you cannot see anything but bright white light, and it's almost as if for a few seconds you're completely blind, or you just see white. There's a deep distrust in people and fear of loss, paranoia. And also note that while a lot of people have these symptoms, sometimes others still, especially those who are not aware of it, with different personality types, they would just rage at everyone or become entitled. And a lot of times they turn into narcissists, which is really on the rise right now. It's a real pandemic. Here's a list of causes of C-PTSD: childhood emotional abuse, inconsistent upbringing, neglect, loss of a parent or both, especially at an early age, loss of a child. I can't imagine anything worse than this. Physical abuse, although loss of a child, I would say it is a deeply traumatic event, and yet again, it's very different from person to person how you view the experience. I put it here because it's very emotional. It's one of the deeply emotionally painful experiences anyone can go through. So it's not like the others, like a consistent form of abuse, but it's still major enough that I put it on this list. Physical abuse by anybody, whether it's a parent, a sibling, friends at school being bullied, unsafe and unsupportive upbringing, childhood sexual abuse, especially if it's done by a family member or a family friend or anybody who's actually familiar. In most cases, it's somebody the family knows. And this can come hand in hand with a form of neglect, or just the family trusted a certain or the wrong individual. Victims of kidnapping, rape, human trafficking, stalking, and false imprisonment, social ostracism, victim shaming, character assassination and public humiliation, domestic violence, childhood abandonment, abusive relationships and friendships, gaslighting, crazy making behavior by invalidating your reality, cheating and betrayal by a romantic partner or spouse. This can be deeply scarring to so many people, and yet a lot of cheaters, they really belittle the experience. Repeated heartbreak and victims of love fraud. Repeated heartbreak in the sense that it doesn't always have to be romantic based. We can get heartbroken by friends' betrayal or family or whatever, but a lot of heartbreaks in life can take a toll on somebody. C-PTSD sufferers are 80% more prone to further abuse by more people if left untreated. And due to the little understanding of the condition, they're often abandoned by their support network and mental health professionals. Therapists who force the sufferer to speak may mirror their traumatic experience if it was related to oppression of any kind. They appear balanced, healthy, and high functioning. Victim shaming greatly intensifies the trauma. Its traces make them easy prey for predators. Predators can sniff that out. We can heal much faster if further abuse by judgment is not present. Empathy is critical to healing, and to have empathy, we need to really understand what each case is and how each person is dealing with it and what's best for them. It's not a one-size-fits-all. So abandonment isn't always physical. By the way, some parents are around the children yet can't manage to be present with them. It can be through denying them attention, invalidating their emotions, neglecting the child's needs, and dismissal of the child's thoughts. So thank you for listening. Tune in for more on this topic, highlighting trauma bonding, why victims get trapped, among other related highlights. Stay safe and happy healing journey ahead. Thank you for allowing me to be part of that journey. It's an honor, and I'll talk to you soon.